evening and welcome to tonight's Saginaw City Council meeting. Tonight we're going to start our meeting off with a prayer and pledge led by Councilman George Copeland.
If you would like to participate in the prayer, please stand and bow your head if you don't mind. Gracious Father, we thank you for another evening for us as council and citizens to come together to work on behalf of the great city of Saginaw. Lord, we ask that you give us wisdom, guidance, and grace as we go throughout this evening, as we go forward with the work of the city of Saginaw, that we will work together as always in the spirit of unity, always to bring you glory, honor, and praise. And Father, we thank you for the servants of this community, our city staff, our city council, our residents, as well as our public officers. Lord, we ask that you cover, grace, and cover us all under your blood. And we pray this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, roll call please.
Councilmember Sylvia.
Present.
Councilmember Williams.
present.
Councilmember Balls.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Present.
Councilmember Ostash.
Present.
Councilmember Garcia.
Present.
Councilmember Flores is absent. Councilmember Copeland.
Present.
And Mayor Moore is absent. You have 7 present, 2 absent.
All right. Welcome to you all. This is a public meeting of the Saginaw City Council. The audience must remain quiet and refrain from speaking, interrupting, cheering, or booing, or otherwise disrupting our meeting. And I remind everyone, including us, to please silence your phones.
All right, that takes us to the announcements. The second annual We Love Saginaw Businesses Trunk or Treat event is this Thursday, October 26th, from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. in the parking lot across from City Hall. The event is free to the public and will feature a kids zone and touch-a-truck area. Those attending may park behind City Hall or in the west end of the lot off of Holland Avenue. And then Halloween trick-or-treat hours are October 31st from 6 to 8 p.m. That takes us to public input.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Again, good evening, and thank you for being here. To our public speakers, when you approach the podium, please speak clearly and remain courteous and respectful. When appropriate, staff may follow up with your concerns. The city clerk will call you to the podium. You have 3 minutes to speak, which is timed by the clerk. When your 3 minutes are up, you may take a couple of seconds to complete your final statement. Council will allow a few seconds for the speaker to wrap up so that we remain consistent and fair to all speakers. Thank you.
Our first speaker is Marcy Duzen.
Good evening, members of the council. I am Marcy Duzen, and my residential address is 13555 South Rice Street in Eagle, Michigan. I'm here tonight representing Holy Cross Services, and we have corporate offices headquartered on River Road. So I am here tonight to give you guys an update on a very exciting project that we have coming down the pike. We are looking at renovating a historic home, 613 Wayne Street, to turn it into a transition center for youth aging out of the foster care system, ages 16 to 25. My colleague Stephanie is here tonight, as well as 2 of our young male youth from our independent living program that are actually located at the independent living center that's adjacent to the Wayne Street location on Fayette. They will be speaking to you in a couple weeks. This is their first council meeting, and so it's a learning experience for them too, which is really cool. So in your handout, you will see that I gave you a program overview, just an update on what Holy Cross Services provides. And then there is a project update. And one thing I want to point out is that there is an urgent need. So above and beyond the need to provide this transition center for youth aging out of the system, which has become a very transparent need among the state, we have a need here locally in that we've already received some federal funding to kick off some of this programming, and we are going to be doing it this fall in a site that is not conducive to successful programming. With the renovations on this historic home on Wayne Street, we could turn a beautiful, beautiful facility into something in a City of Saginaw neighborhood that would be for our youth right here. a drop-in facility that my colleague Stephanie will talk more about in terms of programming for youth aging out of the system, youth in the neighborhood. If you guys know, it's a beautiful block. It's a beautiful block right there in Fayette and Wayne. We own the entire block. So we're thinking community garden, we're thinking about neighborhood activities. But above and beyond that, we are thinking about providing those very, very, very important wraparound services for those youth aging out of the system. Prevents homelessness, prevents violence against youth, prevents so many things. I could go on and on and on. Our cost right now, with an initial look from an architect, is $530,000. We do know that there is some ARPA money that has freed up. That's why we were so eager to come before you tonight and tell you all about this exciting project. If you have any questions, we are available at any time to answer. I know that my clock is ticking down, so I want to thank you so, so much for listening, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Stephanie Curtis.
Good evening, City Council.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Stephanie Curtis. I have lived and worked in Saginaw for over 25 years. So I spent 10 years working within Saginaw City's west side, and I'm very familiar with the community that is there and the need for that community interaction. So when I picked up the boys to see their first city council meeting tonight, we had an entire parking lot full of youth playing basketball. So that community interaction in that neighborhood is very important to us and to the city as well. So what is the Belong, Be Strong program? Really, we are going to kick that off on Yale Street. And as Marcy mentioned, it is not conducive to the whole community. It's off, the parking lot area is small, and there really is no space for those additional community services. And we have a beautiful, it was built in 1900 home right on our property that would be perfect for the opportunity and the space on that city block to offer that garden to the community and increase our current interactions that are there. So as she mentioned, those services talk about increasing the protective factors for those youth that are exiting foster care and what they need. So it would be led by 2 youth advocates who have been through the system and have real lived experience in the foster care system. So they would lead this project for the current youth involved. And it would not just include the youth, it would include their family, extended family, and positive support persons, so that they would also be able to utilize the facility and have a safe place to really work on those life skills. So they have those 2 advocates, the development of a youth advisory council to bring in additional ideas on how to expand services to the community, what the youth need and what's going on there. But also really increase the resources and connection to workforce development within the city of Saginaw. So building relationships with local businesses where our youth can be employed and give back. So it is really our intent through this program to be able to be located within the west side and continue that give back to our community. I appreciate your time this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Jim Frost. All right, we will move on to M.T. Thompson Jr.
I don't see MT here.
Our final speaker is Donovan Monty Gomez.
Dear Saginaw City Council, when in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers the earth a separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to the separation. Declaration of Independence quote. To no avail did I gain benefit from the desperate issues that need be voiced 2 weeks from the last time we briefly associated ourselves. Halted from voicing my concerns related to this city left me desolate and unsatisfied with its current policy. The first of the amendments of our supreme governing document pertaining to this council felt more like a privilege than a right. The dissolution of these fundamental rights would prove abominable to the people you are elected to serve. Upon my dismay of my considerations, I quote, "To get business moving along." Abruptly, in accordance with these tyrannical policies, I remove myself from this discombobulation one calls City Hall. Yet the voice of the people should be placed on the agenda with high significance. After toiling from long working hours and traveling far, I visited Saginaw County Courthouse. Upon my curiosity, I witnessed many cases that plagued the people of this city far and wide. Within my inclinations, 2 young men that just so happened to be my peers committed offenses against the state that left them with lengthy sentences. Fortunately, with time served, they will be able to enjoy the luxury society has afforded them upon their release. The forgotten, lonely, and desolate are my target group. I would like to inspire within these hearts a relentless drive in the pursuit of prosperity. For a chain is as strong as its weakest link. I feel that this social construct we call society is destined to fail if we do not weld the bonds that divide us. Seeing my fellow peers in shackles left me distraught. I could sense that they were pleading guilty to the charges that a way of crime has become too often a way of life. In conclusion, only unto their own accord, these young men had certain rights revoked. I wonder what they could do if only they had a voice here in these here council chambers. The constant pursuit of happiness balanced with the people's rights would be placed as a high precedence. For what little we work for and taxes we pay should reflect these policies. Education, mental health programs, and core family values should take precedence in your policies. When all these policies come to fruition, and if still one chooses to pursue a life of crime, we the people, still need auxiliary precaution. Check out Federalist Paper number 51. In conclusion, I ask that you amend your policy on public speaking. If one of your communities faces time constraints due to work, the least thing this council can do is to have the residents of the city sign in 10 minutes prior to the current meeting. 2, develop policies that help reduce the continuity of crime, such as public relation campaigns dedicated to the promotion of a variety of topics, including but not limited to domestic violence, drug addiction, and mental health resource programs. And 3, develop programs dedicated toward the betterment of these good citizens' lives. Sincerely, Donovan Gomez.
Thank you.
It takes us to council remarks.
All right, council, remember, we also have 3 minutes ourselves, and tonight we begin council comment with Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, Saginaw. I'm really heartfelt by the last the last public speaker that had talked, Mr. Gomez, about public speaking. I think there's a lot of folks that are here, actually, that would like to speak, that are probably not given the opportunity to do so. You know, when you go through every week of being, or every other week of being here, and you see that there's a full room of people, we would imagine that you're not kind of looking at just the run-of-the-mill type of situations that we have going on here, that you want to talk to us, right? And so I've been a champion of being able to make sure that everybody's able to speak. I'm sorry if people aren't able to do so if they want to, and that really struck me, so I just wanted to say that. And then also, real quick, for the Halloween season, there's the second annual We Love Saginaw Business Trunk or Treat event. It's going to be from 4:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. on Thursday, October 26th at the Public Works parking lot on 1435 South Washington. So please show up to that. It's a very good event, and we want to make sure that the kids get all the candy that they get to eat. And then just last, again, if anybody has any information on Keyshawn Banks, Quan Lee, Quay Smithers, Mario Bulger, Penland Whitson, Ryan Clemens, Cortez Hampton, Mezzi Ruditson, and then also Jonathan Lamar Van. And then there was two other shootings 2 weeks ago with a 65-year-old man and then another 16-year-old person that was shot in the back. If you have any information, please call 1-800-422-5245. I'm very grateful that the young man that was shot this past week was able to survive his wounds and that we can move forward. But that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Flores. Councilman Copeland?
Good evening to all of our visitors, those watching online.
Thank you for being here this evening. Thank you to our public speakers. I don't have much. Thank you to the City of Saginaw for supporting your council as we were able to go to MML last week to learn about resources that are available to the City of Saginaw, especially community funds that our citizens can actually apply for through the state of Michigan. So thank you for allowing us to go and be there for that conference this past week. Although he is not here, I do want to continue. I want to share what is going on at Bethel AME this Saturday. The Men of Bethel AME Church presents the State of the Race Summit. And we have our educational institutions. I think this is a really great lineup because all of these people are here in the city of Saginaw, but the weight behind their names is impactful. We have two presidents, the president of Delta College, the president of Saginaw Valley State University. We have the State Board of Education, the president of the Board of Education, Dr. Pamela Pugh. We have our own superintendent of the Saginaw Public Schools, and Dr. Gwendolyn Thompson-McMillan. This will be at Bethel this Saturday at 10 a.m., and it's really just to talk about the state of education within our community. It is a conversation we do have to have. Working in higher education, I see the disparities as well as the challenges that our young people are facing. A lot of the expectations are not changing, but our youth are not prepared. Our reading rates for fourth graders are still low, and it is not going to just happen overnight with our teachers. It will take the whole community, reading at home as well as supporting our teachers. So if you can, make some time to be there this Saturday at 10 a.m. at Bethel AME. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Copeland. Brings us to Councilwoman Lamar Sylvia.
Thank you so much. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to all of our public speakers. Definitely will be contacting Holy Cross, so look forward to a call from me because I'm very interested in almost anything that has to do with our youth. So don't be surprised. I do a lot of drive-bys, good drive-bys. And thank everyone that is here today, definitely, that you decided to come and spend some of your day with your city council. And I'd also like to say, whenever you, and a lot of people contact me, and I definitely appreciate it, and I take time out of my day to come by, to answer your calls, to come by wherever you are. Whatever you have going on, make sure you have names and numbers because I can't follow up. I can't help you without that information. I just can't do that. But thank you so much. And I'm going to decrease right now so we can keep going, get our business going. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lamar Sylvia. Councilman Williams.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Good evening, everyone. I want to say first thank you to our public speakers for coming and sharing with us tonight, as well as Councilman Copeland. I'd like to thank the city for allowing us to go to the Michigan Municipal League Conference, which I thought was a very good conference this year. One of the breakout sessions that really spoke to me was we watched a film called Walking While Black, which is really focused on police and community relations. And it was a very good movie because it spoke from both sides. It wasn't just something that was, against police or against the community. It talked about really trying to understand how to bring us together. One thing that I shared in that breakout that I would really like to share right now is, since we have a larger audience here, is it's important for us to, in our community, to make sure that we are focused on our community. We should always research, study, and watch the things that happen nationwide. But what happens in California, Texas, New York, with those police officers and those police agencies, those aren't the things that are happening here on the scale that it's happening there. And sometimes some of those things don't even happen here, and I pray they never will. But when you have police engagement like we have in Saginaw County and in the city and my township, Buena Vista, you have officers, for the most part, I guarantee over 90% that actually care, that want to see things done right. And that is why we have the cooperation that we do have within the city, within the county, because law enforcement works together and the community works with law enforcement and vice versa. And I think it's important that we keep that in the front of our minds when we see these atrocities that happen across our nation. That's not happening here. So our police officers, we try our best to make sure we don't take out whatever on our community because of what's happening elsewhere. And we want our community to make sure that they're not taking out your frustrations on our police at the same time. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Williams. Councilman Balls?
Thank you. I'd like to thank everybody for coming out to the city council today. Hopefully your concerns will be met soon. I'd like to thank all the 501(c)(3)s, the church organizations, the community centers, for doing what you do for the city of Saginaw. We got some problems here in the city of Saginaw that it's gonna take the whole community to iron out. We got a lot of fatherless homes, kids not being mentored by parents, two parents. We got substance abuse problems here in the city, and people like the Holy Cross do a good job with taking care of some of those issues, and we hope they continue to do that. But it takes the whole community to be involved in somebody's life. And what we are doing is good because you guys come here because you're concerned about this city. Keep that concern up. And you ever get the opportunity, please engage a young person who you think could be getting in trouble. A lot of times, they just need somebody to talk to. You'd be surprised on how they open up once you get to talk to them. But sometimes, they think they need to be hard and all that kind of stuff like that. And they give you a look, won't even smile at you. They give you a big old frown and stuff like that and make you think they're tough, and deep down inside, they just need their heart to be softened a little bit more. So please engage them whenever you get a chance. I don't have a lot to share. I wish I could have been at the conference with you guys, but I had another conference myself in more beautiful sunny weather. I'm not gonna tell you. But it was 90 in the daytime and 80 at night, so I hate that I couldn't be there with you guys, but I did learn a lot. I did learn a lot about the subject that I'm dealing with too, and that's about trying to get financing for low-income homes and stuff like that here in the city of Saginaw. So hopefully I can bring some of that knowledge back and help some people to get some homes that need them. There's some people that like to build houses here in the city of Saginaw too, so hey guys, keep your eyes open, things are happening. So thank you, let me share that.
Thank you, Councilman Balls. Councilman Ostache?
Thanks, Madam Mayor Pro Tem. Welcome, everybody, tonight. It's nice to see that the chamber is full. Again, thanks to the citizens of the city of Saginaw for sending us to MML, because it is your tax dollars that help us go there to learn and expand our knowledge on how to better serve our city. Also, Manager Morales did a presentation when he was there, and I actually got to moderate that for him too. So it was about investing in our communities, and he did a great job. I too attended quite a few sessions, but one that really stuck out to me that I've actually had conversations with folks about, but they're starting to take a look at climate refugees and how climate is going to affect migration to basically around the Great Lakes. And so that was a very interesting session that I attended. And just even in 2020, that 1 in 3 Americans have directly experienced climate change impacts. And I myself actually have friends that are selling homes in Palm Springs and Florida and coming back to Michigan. So a very interesting session that I attended. Over the last couple of weeks, I attended the Covenant Neighborhood Association meeting. It was held at Covenant Hospital. And it was really good to go there, and it was exciting to see some of the things that they were talking about. Covenant Hospital actually being a partner with a program that Wade Trim Engineering was working on. We're looking to build homes in the city, so we were just talking about that. That's a good thing for Saginaw. We've been talking about trying to increase our population. Even with the first thing I talked about, any of this migration could come up here to the city, so we have to be prepared for jobs and housing. So hats off to them, and also they talked about renovations in the neighborhood again this year too. So they're talking about 35 to 40 homes of renovation, plus also building new homes. So just thank you to that program that is coming in, and I'm looking forward to seeing that get off the ground. Lighter notes and Halloween, we've been talking about that. Zoo Boo is still going on at the zoo, so if you, they'll have 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. this weekend. That'll be the 28th and the 29th. And Mayor Pro Tem, that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Ostache. Councilwoman Garcia.
Good evening, concerned citizens of the community. Just want to say, keep my family in your prayers. We laid my cousin to rest today, Henry Cardenas Senior on Brown Street. So just prayers for my family going back home to Texas and Ohio, if you could keep them in your prayers. Also, thank you for everyone that's here tonight that spoke and that's in attendance. It's nice to see a vibrant crowd tonight. And also to the young gentleman that came, that's your first time. Could be a little nerve-wracking. I've been here almost a year. In November, I got sworn in, so I know the feeling, kind of like, wow, there's a lot of people, but it really is welcoming. It's really nice for you to come if you can make it back, just experience, because you have different people talking all the time, and you learn a lot about your city, just coming and sitting, and the different concerns that people have, and I'm learning a lot just from people coming that I didn't even know the issues that they're having in their homes or in their neighborhood, parking, so it's just good to come out. Also, it's starting to get cold, so if you guys got your heat on, that's a good thing. Saturday, November 11th, Women of Colors is doing their coat giveaway for their children, so you can go on Facebook if you have it, or get some information regarding that. It will take place at 1000 Tuscola Street from 9 to 12, so if you know any children in need, that would be a good time to go out there. And then also this weekend, the Mac Center is having their annual trunk or treat, so if you want to stop on by there from 3 to 8. And then my church is having it as well, St. Joseph's on 6th Street. They're having it at 1 o'clock, and they're gonna have hot dogs and chips for a trunk or treat, so, and also next week, we used to call it Devil's Nights, Angels Night. I, ride out every year faithfully and volunteer just to keep my city safe. I've been doing this before I even became on council, just getting involved in my community, you know, it's a safe place for everybody, and be vigilant what's going on, so, I do that, and I will be planning on doing it again. I look forward to it, and making sure that everything's safe in the neighborhoods and stuff like that, because people do like to do bad things. It happens, but just, you know, looking out for your neighbors that night and stuff, and being vigilant. And then the kids, of course, with Halloween coming, just making sure that you can see them, you know, with the reflection, and they're not wearing no dark clothing. And then Thursday, I'll be with my council members on my first trunk or treat here, so I'm excited. So make sure you come out and get some goodies from us, and come meet the council members if you haven't met us all already. Thank you, God bless, good night. That's it.
Thank you, Councilwoman Garcia. I guess it's my turn now. Thank you to everyone here tonight, and it's nice to have a full room of people here. To Ms. Duzen and Ms. Curtis and your young people here tonight, thank you and welcome. Very happy to hear that Councilwoman Garcia, or excuse me, Lamar Sylvia plans to reach out to you as a former foster child who aged out of the system. I can tell you that to your young people, things absolutely get better. But those services were so needed when I was 18 years old, and that was, 20 years ago at least. And it's only more necessary now. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for the advocacy for those kids. It means a lot to know that you guys are out there doing good work. Also, yes, the MML, I do want to thank the citizens and the city for making sure that we all get to attend and better ourselves and educate ourselves at these wonderful opportunities that the Michigan Municipal League provides. There were several great breakout sessions. I will say that Councilman Balls, no matter how warm it was where you were, there was nothing beating the fall colors on the right way there and up there. There's just no beating the fall colors. We got that on you. But it was a really, really great conference. It's always really nice to go back and connect with other people who serve in other communities, hear from them what they're doing to resolve issues, because most of the time they're dealing with something on a similar scale. It might not be exactly the same, but something somewhat similar. And it was a very good trip, and I wanted to commend Manager Morales. He did a very good job with his speech, or his presentation. It was nice because we have so many people approaching us afterwards, talking about the good work we've done with ARPA. As frustrating as the process may have been, a lot of other communities are looking to the things that we've done because they're not nearly as far in their process, and I think that's something that we should be very proud of. And I also wanted to add too, I've been dealing with a constituent issue on behalf of a person who was impacted by one of our adjacent governing bodies. And I learned that Mr. Carwatt from our Public Services Department and his staff were ongoing in the process of trying to help. But between the three of us and their willingness to go above and beyond, I think we were able to find a solution. But I just want to commend our staff, because one of the things that they talked about at the MML is the importance of the relationships that we have with our staff as council members, and you really can't get anything done for the citizens you represent if you don't communicate with them. And I just want to thank our staff, because they are always helping me solve citizens' problems. So thank you very much. That's all I have.
That takes us to reports from the manager.
Thank you. I would echo a number of great sessions at the MML this year, and I think there are some good ideas that I'm going to share with our staff, particularly on housing. But I will mention some of the things that I did hear there, we are working on too, and especially active in the Cathedral District. They've been talking about accessory dwelling units, ADUs, for quite some time, and how to use those to create additional housing. That's what some of the communities are doing, but some other good ideas with planning and marketing that I think our staff can take back, and maybe we'll be able to connect with some of those communities and share ideas for that as well. Also, as was mentioned, the trick-or-treating is next Tuesday, 6 to 8. And families are encouraged to take safety precautions while trick-or-treating, and drivers who are out during those hours are asked to be extra aware of their surroundings and on the lookout for enthusiastic children entering the streets while trick-or-treating. Also, would like to thank all the volunteers, as Councilwoman Garcia mentioned. People have been volunteering on that night for probably 30 years at least, and still doing it strong today. It's been great to see the change though, because as you all know, there hasn't been as much negative things happening on that night as there were originally when people started doing that. And I know the volunteers have been able to turn it into a more positive event. In fact, giving away prizes and different things like that till they see it, people out there at night. So that's great, and we really appreciate the volunteers and the police department, the fire department for assisting with that. A few people did mention the trunk or treat that's going to be here Thursday. I want to mention that it's called the We Love Saginaw Businesses Trunk or Treat, and it's hosted by the City of Saginaw and also the Saginaw Downtown Development Authority and the Saginaw Economic Development Corporation. So this is a special trunk or treat, is an opportunity for local business owners to promote their businesses, show their support for the community, and put a smile on the faces of young trick-or-treaters. And I want to thank representatives who helped to plan this from City Council, the Saginaw DDA, the SEDC, and Positive Results Downtown. And we will have law enforcement agencies and the Saginaw Fire Department there that can speak with people about safety and provide various treats. And also, they'll have an opportunity to see Touch a Truck, which is the for the police or fire department, and also I think we're going to have the fire safety house there. And finally, we did have the fire award ceremony on October 10th. It's an excellent event this year, and I want to congratulate Interim Chief Hausbeck and the Fire Command and the awards team for putting it all together. So many acts of bravery and by our citizens this year that the fire department recognized. A number of citizens who took action to save lives and help people, and it was really amazing to see. And I want to congratulate our firefighter of the year, Cody Beaver. He joined the fire department on September 11th, 2020, and has dedicated himself to the department since that time. It's pretty amazing. So he hasn't been with the department for that long, but he is a member of the group's hazardous materials and technical rescue team. He leads the car seat technician program for the department, works with high school firefighting academy that Saginaw coordinates with Delta College and the Saginaw Intermediate School District. He serves as a member of the peer support team that consists of representatives from fire departments across the region. And he also serves as a mentor to a lot of the younger firefighters. He's been there since 2020, but he's not 20 years old like a lot of the new firefighters are, so he really has taken a role with mentoring those young firefighters, and he was a unanimous vote for the Saginaw Firefighter of the Year this year, so that was a really great choice and a great ceremony in highlighting that. If you get a chance to watch them, I think they're on our YouTube channel. If you didn't get a chance to go, we have a very young fire department now. The highest level of service, I think, was around 15 years. We do have a couple that have 20-plus years still left, but I think on average, it's probably closer to 5 years. So we do have a lot of new firefighters, but, and they're not easy to find. So this program at the Intermediate School District and Delta College that is great. It gets local kids involved, and it was something that was actually started by our fire department approaching the Intermediate School District. So please let kids know about it. They come out certified, they get credit at Delta, and we're looking to hire them, and I know several other fire departments in the region are as well. So with that, that concludes the management update.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Do you have any questions for the manager? Comment?
Yep, just comment. So, Tim, that's really great that you talked about the fire department and the awards. And if anybody hasn't had the chance to go, it really is wonderful. They put on a nice meal afterwards, and you can take a tour of the station. It gives you, it's that one time of the year where you can actually get a chance to interact with the firefighters. But I always find out, too, that when they ring the bell for those who have served above and beyond and have lost their lives, it's a very emotional event at that point, and then even with the bagpipes playing and stuff, too. So it's an excellent event, open to the public every year. So I would encourage people to watch for that, too. And you mentioned about looking for young firefighters. From the firefighters, the link on our website, there's actually, they can, I think, put their email in, and it'll get them on a list. So when things come out, they'll actually, send you an email and keep you in the loop on things too. So thanks for that great update.
Thank you. Councilman Ostash, any other questions or comments for the manager? All right, we'll move on then.
We are at the consent agenda.
All right. Our agenda has been available at City Hall, on the city website, and on SGTV Channel 191, and I need a motion to approve, leaving room for exceptions.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and supported. Do we have any exceptions? Any exceptions? Seeing there's no exceptions, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Our next item is board, commission, and committee reports.
Do we have any boards, commission, or committee reports from anyone? Councilman Copeland.
I'm going to continue to make this announcement. For the food feasibility, we are still in our survey, our time of surveys. We have been getting some really great responses. Thank you to the NAG and our neighborhood association that gave us space last week to come and share with the neighborhood associations and hear from them. And I think Mayor Pro Tem and Councilman Ostash, we kind of heard some new things. I know for me, I heard some new information from some of our constituents. But if you have not, you can find the QR code on our website. You can also, while you're here, we have a great crowd that's here. So if you have not taken the survey, we have paper surveys that you can take here and leave them here with us. We just need to make sure that this is a food access survey. So one of the things we've kind of shared out is a lot of our conversations, we talk about the grocery store on the east side. This particular survey is what is our access to quality food? So whether that be some of the questions that we have, one in particular is our Saginaw Community Food Club. There's some questions in there. And so that's why you may see, like, what is this? We're really focusing on food access. We know that we have a lot of churches and organizations that are doing food giveaways, but we need to say, how easy is it for you to access quality food where you live? And so we want to hear, please don't hold back. Please share whatever is on your heart, because we need this information to make sure to help us advocate when we go to our planning session, our master plan, to make sure that the voice of the city, and what we shared at the previous meeting is a lot of the data that we have regarding food is for the county. This is the first time we've been able to actually pool funds to focus on the city and what the city needs right now. And so we don't want this to just go and be a process. We want to hear, I'm really competitive, and so I'm still waiting to hear on our household numbers, because that's my goal. 10% of that, of our households, I want to have that many respondents for this survey. So I feel comfortable in saying whatever steps we take, we have been able to hear from the city of Saginaw. So once again, thank you for that, and if you don't have more information, you can see me after the meeting.
Thank you, Councilman Copeland. Council,
Do you have those in hard copy? And if so, do you have any tonight?
Yes, ma'am. So we have hard copies. The one thing is we ask that they do them here because the consultant, our staff here at City Hall scans them and sends them to our consultant in Lansing. So we rather have them do it here so we can just get it from them at that time. So we're trying to do the paper copies in real time. So as we're getting data from the QR code, they're also able to process the service as they come in rather than having a lump sum at one time that the consultants will have to process.
Thank you so much.
we're trying to make sure that they're used as an as-needed basis, so we can make sure that the public has the confidence that their information is kept private as well, because when you do it online, there's no extra exchange of hands. So if anybody is interested, please stick around. We can make sure that if you need paper copies, we can certainly provide you those. But we also have the flyers with the QR code, and you could sit here and do that while you listen. But thank you, Councilman Copeland. Does anybody else have any other boards or commissions updates? Yes, Councilman Ostash.
Yes, thank you. So I sit on the Planning Commission, and they meet tomorrow at 6 o'clock here in the chamber. Manager Morales was talking about the Cathedral District, which is my neighborhood, and we're looking at some rezoning rezoning the neighborhood there. I don't know why I'm getting tongue-tied. But just for those that are watching, zoning changes start at the Planning Commission. So engage the Planning Commission. There was some spirited conversation on Facebook over the last week on parking. So just know that we are also looking at, along with our master plan that we did, a lot of the zoning changes will come out of the master plan too. So our staff are starting to prepare for that and getting that going and getting some help to do that. And with the recent changes to our council rules, I can also talk about other boards and that I serve on. So I also serve on the Saginaw Depot Preservation Corporation for the Potter Street Station. I'm their treasurer. And I just want to let people know that we are doing a fundraiser this weekend at the Court Street Theater. We are showing Haunting on Potter Street. We're hoping Shippey can stop by. I'm not putting any pressure on him, but he said he's going to try and make it. But it's going to be the 28th at 7 p.m. And also on Sunday, we're going to do a 1 p.m. showing. And also, the Potter Street Station meets the second Tuesday at 6 p.m. every month. Locations are always to be determined. And also, as you were talking, whoop, I don't want to knock your water over there. Angels Night, we are also having some of our staff and volunteers will be at the station as well, and sometimes they hand out candy. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilman Ostash.
I just wanted to make a comment on the food thing, just so people know. It says here, if they do the survey, they're eligible to win a $50 gift card. Is that correct?
Yes, we are doing a drawing for 20 $50 gift cards. So it's important that you fill out the entire thing and share your email with us so we can contact you if you win. But yes, we definitely want people to participate, and they can take that $50 and hopefully buy some groceries if they need to. Or spend it on whatever you need. But yes, thank you. Is there anybody else from down here? No? All right, I think we can move on.
All right, we are now at resolutions. We have one on the agenda. It's to approve the cost agreement with Michigan Department of Transportation for the rehabilitation of Sheridan Avenue from Triner Street to Hess Avenue.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Seeing as there's no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Resolution approved.
That takes us to miscellaneous business. We have one item under miscellaneous business. It's a consideration of a motion to go into closed session to discuss pending litigation in Ryder McMillan versus City of Saginaw per MCL 15.268E.
And we need a motion to go into closed session.
So moved.
I have a motion on the floor. I need a second.
Second.
We're going to need a roll call vote for that.
Councilmember Sylvia.
I'm sorry. What happened?
We're making a motion
Oh,
to go
yes.
into closed session.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Councilmember Balls.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench.
Yes.
Councilmember Ostash.
Yes.
Councilmember Garcia.
Yes.
Councilmember Flores.
Yes.
Councilmember Copeland.
Yes.
And Mayor Moore is absent. You have 8 yes and 1 no. Or 1 absent, I'm sorry. You're in closed session at 7:15.
We are back in regular session.
We out?
Right.
yet.
No.
We moved to come back in.
Yep, we're now back in regular session. We need a motion to address what we just heard.
Make a motion to approve legal recommendation as closed session regarding the Ryder McMillan pending litigation.
So, second.
Do I need to ask for discussion?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion on that?
No.
Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Do we have any other motions or other business to come before the council? Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'd like to instruct or motion to have the city do a special meeting with Guidehouse for the remainder of the ARPA funds that were clawed back, the youth development and workforce funds, at our earliest convenience.
That's a meeting with the committee.
A special meeting with the public.
Say it again?
Special meeting with the public about the clawback money with the Guidehouse.
That's what we talked about then.
I don't understand.
So we do a special meeting either before or after, I guess, depending on scheduling, but we do it in public with Guidehouse.
For clarity, before or after what? I'm sorry, Michael Ball, or Michael.
Whenever usually the last special meeting that we had was at 5:30, right?
Oh, I'm saying you meant before or after a council meeting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, before there's any further discussion.
We need a
Other than
second if we're gonna,
clarification of the motion, we need-
discuss any further.
What do you,
We need a second.
We just need a second. I'm just trying to.
Yeah.
oh,
I
gee.
second.
I'll second for clarity.
Yeah,
I'll second for
whatever.
discussion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Now we can discuss.
So, you saying a public meeting with Guidehouse to discuss the remaining money? Would that be before the committees meet to discuss what they want to propose to the council, or, I'm trying to understand.
So I think that we met, right? So the workforce met. If youth wants to meet before, that's up to them to do so.
Yeah, we
But-
already have a schedule.
Yep. And then we would schedule that after they all met. Yeah.
Oh, so not everybody, just y'all's committee?
No, I want to make
We're the only
it,
two people with money. We're the only two committees with money.
yeah.
Please explain. You saying you want to have a meeting with the committee and Guidehouse, or with the public?
Special public meeting.
Special meeting, so it'd be a public meeting.
Breaking news.
So will it follow our rule of orders where the public will have to call in if they want to talk? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And this is for, okay, so help me if I understand. This is for, after all the committees you really just want to have a public conversation with Guidehouse for the public, and the public can sign up to speak if they want to, and then what would we be doing?
Be getting information either from the public or Guidehouse about next steps.
Just a comment here. We did have a plan for Guidehouse's updates, and our plan initially was to have them come back in December because we'll have more expenditures at that time for them to report on. I was planning to move that to a strategic planning session in January so that we could take as long as we needed to review what has already been expended and allocate anything else that needs to be expended. So that's what we've been talking about with Guidehouse, if that has an impact on your discussion.
The strategic planning meeting, that involves the public?
It's a open meeting, yes.
So
Yep.
that forum, to me, seems like it would be better than a special, because we would be able to have exchange in the strategic planning meeting.
Yes, you could, because you normally suspend the rules during the strategic planning session so that you could, you'd still have your public input sign up like you do, but it would allow you to have more open conversation, is what we
Would
typically
that
do.
suit what you want better than a special meeting, Councilman Flores?
Go ahead,
Thank you.
Councilman Flores.
Yeah, it would. If we can expedite that to before January, it would be beneficial so there are different organizations that reach out to me that had some issues with reporting or, the additional, measures that they were kind of given after doing original reporting. But I know,
yeah.
but this is just what I'm hearing.
Yes.
And then they want to have a conversation, an open conversation in public about that, and then also just combining that with the amount of money that youth and workforce development have to give. So I know that January was going to be on the calendar. I wasn't privy to that. But if we can do it earlier, then that's what I'm motioning for or requesting.
Councilwoman Lamar Sylvia.
Okay. I don't want to get it confused, and I want to say this the right way, because I know sometimes I come off a little different, but that's all right, if I come off a little different. But once, okay, let's not forget that we already voted that youth dollars were gonna go back to youth dollars. I'm sorry, what's? Workforce. Workforce was going back to workforce, I'm sorry, whatever, okay. And I don't mean that facetiously, I just got my tongue mixed up. So, when our committee meets, we'll meet and we'll bring that back to the body. You know, how we want to do that. And that's how that's gonna roll, hopefully. You know, I'm not trying to be funny at all, I mean, you know. And I'm not gonna be influenced by that right out there. It's gonna be, I'm gonna be influenced by the 9. You see what I'm saying? The 3 gonna be influenced by the 9. And then what you saying, you know, January, or if we move it up, that's that. But other than that, I don't want to be confused because we already motioned to do it a particular way. So that means we got to go back to that motion if we want to do it a different way. And I'm cool with how it is, but I understand what Mr. Flores is saying too. And we do need to have some open conversation in regards to anything else. But, you know, I'm just saying how I feel, right? You know, everything is hunky-dory.
Just so I have an understanding, these organizations want to talk in public about their issue with reporting?
They have been, I've had some conversations.
Okay.
Yeah,
If they want to have it in a public discussion, then
Well-
I think that's.
I'm going to speak for a second. Personally, I think the January meeting is going to be the best venue for this because, again, the rules are suspended and we can have more of a dialogue. Then at the end of the session, we go back into regular rules of order, and I think if people sign up for public comment, they have the opportunity to speak then as well. We have 5 meetings between now and that strategic planning session, and we're going into the holiday months. I just think that maybe we can accomplish what Councilman Flores is trying to achieve in January, and we're going to have a lot more information about what that reporting actually looks like, and I think that there's absolutely no reason, if you guys are having concerns, that you guys can't reach out to the manager's office with those specific concerns and get answers from the staff and get more clarity, because much of the time, I think we find out that, you know, there's, you know, other information that people aren't always communicating to us, but I personally think that George and I have had this conversation with the food study. I think it would be beneficial to have Ms. Colby come and present so the council has all the same information, because we can share our PDFs and stuff like that, but we also know that we're running down that amount of money that we allocated, because our money for the study is coming out of those ARPA dollars that we allocated to Guidehouse. And considering there has been so much scrutiny from various members of council, I don't know that we need to double our efforts, because we should have this meeting with them in January no matter what, even if we have another special meeting. So I think for the sake of conserving the taxpayers' dollars the best we possibly can, I would say no, I think at this point. Councilwoman Lamar Sylvia.
Are we saying having the meeting like Tim said, having it moved up, having 2 meetings? Are we voting on this? Are we considering this?
We're in the middle of discussion.
Okay, because I'm gonna tell you this. I've had constituencies that are receiving dollars, and it's not necessarily them. I would say, from listening to them, It's not necessarily their reporting. I think they are having a problem with their fiduciary. And I'm not gonna say I think, I know that's the problem. So I think, at this point, Mr. Morales, I'm gonna have them call you. They were trying their best not to, but it's just as a council person, there's only so much I can do and say and try to alleviate things, but there's some stuff I can't alleviate. I'll just have to have them call you.
Oh, yeah, that's what I would always suggest.
That's what I'm gonna just have to do. I was trying to avoid it, but, you know, they were trying not to let their fiduciary look bad, but I mean, some people just gotta look bad.
Right.
So that's all I can say.
I just wanna make a comment as, because we got our buckets and we wanna have ample time, because
Right.
we have a little bit more money than youth and development, and I wanna make sure that we're making the right decision and not just rushing because we have to meet this deadline. I wanna make sure that we're taking the right, proper protocol to make sure that money is spent wisely, because at the end of the day, we have to answer for those dollars in our bucket, and I just wanna make sure, like I said, you know, Rush or whatever, they can talk to whoever they need in the right departments, but at the end of the day, this money has to be allocated properly and not in a hurry, and that's all I'm gonna say about that.
Councilman
See,
Copeland.
can I say something about that, please? Oh, I'm sorry, please, I just.
I will come right back to you after
Please.
Council Copeland speaks.
So, I do agree. I've had some, organizations contact me, so one of the things I think that I always say is, just, my hope is that we're getting to a place where there is a common verbiage on the expectation of what needs to be submitted, because from the two organizations I've heard from, there were different requests, and granted, I'm not in that, so I don't know, so I did refer them back to the city manager's office. So I just want to make sure, the current motion right now, what we will be voting on is basically, so if I want to wait until January for the strategic planning meeting and not adding an additional meeting, I would vote nay. And if I want to vote to have an additional meeting, I would vote yes on this.
Yep, and I would still have them here in January either way, because that's where you want to have your status report for that time, because then you've got 6 months. So mid-2024, all of that should be obligated and ready to spend, because at the end of 2024, then that's it. So we want to have it January so we can tell you where everyone stands, so that you know in a few months if I have to claw something else back, because if it looks like they're not going to spend this money, so you have time to allocate that again before the mid-year, because once you get to mid-year, sometimes it's hard for organizations to get their whole program or capital project or whatever set up, and then they'll only have 6 months. So that's why we were looking at January to do that.
Yeah,
But
Mayor
of
Moore.
course, any kind of reporting issues, we're more than open to sit down with people, or if they're having issues with their fiduciary or whatever it happens to be, you can always refer them back to the manager's office, and I think that Ms. Bland and Ms. Brown were in all of those meetings with Guidehouse too, so we could all come together at that point.
Okay, what I just wanted to say, so it won't be a misunderstanding and in the best intention. Myself and Councilman Williams, we've been here from the start. We've been here from the beginning. So I don't think we've done anything in haste. When you came on, you were newly elected, and we have been through long process in regards to the youth development, how it even started. So I don't think, and I don't think you meant it a bad way, but I'm just saying, we've been looking and going through papers strategically, you know, in regards to youth dollars. So, yeah, so, okay.
Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. So my hope with this motion is that we don't have to continue to have additional allocations of funds to Guidehouse to get this solved. But at the same time, there is an urgency from either constituents, nonprofits that have been given funds to get additional answers, and then also have an open forum. Now, when we got the original email from the city manager on September 29th, it was that we would have the next steps to be able to know what we're going to do with either work or youth development. And these two, I think, are the most important to the city to be able to get right and get set, just because what happened with YDC was probably, you know, I talked with other constituents, it's very sad what happened with them. We're trying to move forward and figure out the best way to employ people and then keep the youth busy, especially during the summer months. So I'm not opposed to doing it at a later date, but I want to get this all set, ready, prepared, acknowledged, so we can go back to our constituents and make sure that they're aware that we're doing this in a proper manner, which this is the first time I heard about January. It sounds great, but I want kids to be able to be in programs by the time that we get to April or May, so where they're invested in it and they're not out on the streets up until September. So I don't have to continue to list the people that have been shot or killed and then go from there. That's all I'm concerned about. And then making sure that we're using the best avenues that we have available for Guidehouse, because we didn't employ them. So if there is the ability to have an open and public forum, because this is, again, kind of a pressure cooker issue for the city of Saginaw, always has been since we got these funds, that we would hopefully be able to get some either issues solved and/or guidance from Guidehouse that wouldn't have to be in closed doors. So again, that's really my position. If folks don't agree with it, I'm not painting it any different way, but that's where I'm coming from.
Councilman Ball?
I just want to, so, you're not saying that you want us to wait before we allocate the money to after a meeting with the public and then allocate the money after the fact, after we have a meeting with them? That's not what you're saying, are you?
No.
Okay. All right.
I don't believe so.
That's fine. Okay.
Any other comments?
I would say, even if it doesn't pass, that if hopefully city staff could have a conversation, if we find out some entities are having some concerns with Guidehouse or anything like that, that our city staff would be willing to sit with not one-on-one, but as a whole, so we can hear exactly, because I would be interested in hearing, I only have two, but it sounds like some other ones, I would be really interested in hearing what it is that we need to possibly address.
Well, I mean, I guess that's where it is a bit confusing to me, because I don't think that it is appropriate to have a public meeting where council directs how you monitor these organizations.
Or what they're doing
Or
wrong.
or what they're doing wrong.
And I think that's the fact where, right now, we do need to hear what the challenges from these organizations are. Because it seems that they're having these conversations with Guidehouse, but then they come to us and say, well, these are some challenges that we have. And then if I send them your way, the reality is, you all and Guidehouse are working hand in hand.
Well, they haven't, I mean, just to be clear, they haven't come to me, I haven't heard anything.
Well, I sent one.
They did not contact me yet. But the issue that I have heard from Guidehouse and our staff is organization, because we did do advances, because council wanted to do advances, we've advanced you this funding, you report back to what you spent it on. And then the organization may say, I don't want to report on that, I don't have to. That's not an issue with us asking for too much, in my opinion. That's, you gotta advance on federal funding, you need to report back to us. That's,
Go ahead.
Yeah, based on what the manager just said, my concern there is that we would run into a situation where the IRS would audit and we'd have to pay it back. You know, so they really should be reporting back on that. That's.
yes, you know, that's why we have, that's why we did contract with Guidehouse and Plan Moran, because they are the ones that are experienced in reporting this out. So a number of the organizations that we funded have never had federal funds allocated to them. So every dollar does have to be accounted for, and there isn't necessarily anything in that allocation they received where it can be, no, I don't think I need to report on that. It needs to be accounted for, otherwise the city can be held accountable.
Yes.
So that's what they're trying to do. We have bi-weekly updates with Guidehouse, I do, and the finance director and the director of OMB. So I know what organizations are having issues turning information in, so I did expect to be contacted, but I haven't. But from what my understanding of it is that it is an issue where they need to turn in more information.
And we provide them the examples of that information. Because for me, I rewind all the way back when we allocated the money, we waited months to actually tell these nonprofit organizations the documentation that need to be had, because that was from what David shared with us. He gave us a whole timeline and said, well, this is what was actually required. And so within that was months that we had organizations saying, you have money coming, but we did not tell them, provide examples of the documentation that's needed. So that's really where I'm coming from right now. And I know our city staff has been doing it, but I can already tell you where I'm voting on this, but even after this, when we have these conversations, when Guidehouse comes back, I'm still gonna forward my people over to you all, but after the fact in January, personally, I still don't feel like we have a system in place that if we allocate more money, that all the information will be given up front without the back and forth. And that's really what I'm looking for.
I will say that from our meetings with Guidehouse, there aren't multiple organizations that are having issues. It's a very small portion, maybe 2 or 3.
And granted, I don't know these people. These are new people too, so I don't know.
Councilman Balls, I saw your hand first.
Well,
Matt.
if they
Welcome
do,
you.
if they are having issues, I hope if they having issues and they're not getting the information to Guidehouse that they want, then hopefully they're not getting no more money until they get that stuff in. If that's how it's going.
That's what
Yeah,
we've done.
that's our direction.
And if they got a problem with that, then they just need to go by the rules. If they can't go by the rules, then they don't get the money.
Yeah.
And
And
this
they
is-
do all have a contract. They all have a contract that
Right.
they signed.
And this is a reason why I think it's important to wait till January, because we're gonna have that solid information in front of us instead of so-and-so's complaining,
Yeah.
you know, and it's actually that they don't wanna turn in the paperwork. We'll get that report then and there.
And
But as
they-
council members, we gotta make sure that we encourage people to reach out to the staff and not to be afraid, you know, of revealing that they've made a mistake or that they've had an error, because the people who are best suited to fix that for them are our staff and Guidehouse.
There has been a lot of, so we didn't elect to have that part of our contract where we do organizational development and that was training the organizations to do reporting and things like that, because we did so much programming, so that's gonna take up a majority of the contract. But even though not doing that, Guidehouse has worked with organizations a lot because they maybe aren't as experienced with federal funds, so they've had to redo budgets, reallocate money in there, so they have been working through those with a number of them. So there could be potentially issues where maybe an organization doesn't understand that, oh, okay, I didn't know this was allowable or this wasn't allowable. So it is a lot of work, and we're happy to sit down with the organizations as a large group.
I'm gonna go to Councilwoman Lamar Sylvia and then Councilman Flores.
Motion,
The motion, as I understood it, was to have a special city council meeting with Guidehouse present regarding clawed back ARPA funds.
call for the question, please.
We have a motion to call for the question. Do we have a second? Do we have a second? The motion to call the question has failed for lack of a second. Councilman Flores.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Are any of us able to sit in on the bi-weekly meetings or bi-monthly meetings that you guys have with Guidehouse and the recipients?
We don't have bi-weekly meetings with the recipients. The staff and I have bi-weekly meetings with Guidehouse.
Are we able to sit in on those?
I don't think that's a good idea, just because it's an administrative function. It's not a council function, but we can set up other meetings with council members if you want individual updates on reporting, but that's what we're gonna be doing in January, the next update anyway.
That's really what I'm trying to do prior to January, and then keeping in mind the cost that it would have to do that with Guidehouse at a separate meeting outside of what's already scheduled. So I just want to make that clear on the record. That's all.
Is there any further comments or questions?
I just want to make a small comment. I don't want to get into a pissing match with Guidehouse here, the public here, the organizations here saying you ain't doing this, you ain't doing that, and Guidehouse saying you didn't report this, you didn't report that. That can just get so nasty because some people don't want to follow the rules. They think that they can just do 90% of the work and everything's all right. But when we dealing with federal money, they got to do all the stuff right. Because once you start slacking this month, you give 90%, then the following month, you may give 80% and 70%, and next thing you know, we're in trouble. So I don't want to get into a public discussion with people arguing with Guidehouse and the city council, all that stuff at the same time. I don't want that to happen. I don't think it's proper. Agreed.
What's gonna happen?
Any more comments or questions?
Just real quick, I agree, Councilman Balls. That kind of crossed my mind too. And the other part about this is, the more we talked about this, I agree with the manager, we are really tiptoeing into a day-to-day operations involvement, which is not something our charter supports, and that's my last comment.
Thank you, Councilman Ostash. Is there any more comments or questions before we move on and call the question? Anyone? All right. We have a motion that I will have the clerk reread just one more time.
It was to have a special city council meeting with Guidehouse present regarding clawback ARPA funds.
Okay. All those in favor of having another meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Nay.
We need a roll call vote.
Councilmember Sylvia,
Yes,
you said yes.
yes.
Councilmember Williams,
Nope.
Councilmember Balls,
No.
Mayor Pro Tem Bench,
No.
Councilmember Ostash,
No.
Councilmember Garcia,
Nay.
Councilmember Flores,
Yes.
Councilmember Copeland,
No.
and Mayor Moore is absent. You have 6 yes and 2 no. The motion is denied.
Okay. Do we have any other motions or business to come before the council?
I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second, third.
Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, our meeting is over.